الحمد لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are all doing well. This is our brother we have with us, Brother Abdullah from the Dawiyans. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. How's everything today, brother?
MashaAllah, khair, khair. And we want to touch on some of these things that have been developing with the story of Gaza and the Palestinians, our brothers and sisters, the Muslims. So there's two stories we're going to get into. First is about Piers Morgan and Mohammed Hijab. So that one's very important, Then the second one is about the young Palestinian boy and his mother who were stabbed, the young Palestinian boy being killed in Chicago. This is very important because it's connected to what's happening in Gaza Strip. So first, let us open up with this. We're going to get right into it, inshallah ta'ala. This is an interview. Many people have seen it. We don't want to talk about all of it, but we're going to react to some points and highlight some of the powerful discourse and communication between Pierce and also Mohammed Hijab.
It's unfortunate that we cannot watch the entire video.
We cannot.
It's very...
we can just do like a whole sharh of the whole thing,
Nah.
Allah musta'an. But let's go to the first clip.
That what happened on October the 7th was a war crime. I mean, when people are taking grandmothers and executing them, kidnapping young children, when they're killing babies in their cribs, we can agree that's war crime, right?
Okay, babies...
Can we?
Surely, of course, 100%.
Right.
But babies in the crib, sorry, what was the evidence for that?
You don't believe that happened?
Sorry, CNN, the White House, Sky News, which you work for, all say...
I don't work for Sky News.
Well, your thing...
I did work at CNN.
I
saw one reporter who retracted it because she wasn't sure about the source.
It's unconfirmed by the White House.
But then the Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post and other sources then did publish pictures,
CNN,
which indisputably show babies have been killed.
No, it showed one baby who's been charred, and that picture has been put up on Twitter and has been refuted by many people saying that it's actually AI.
That's completely untrue.
That is true. What's your source? What's your source?
There's been a thorough investigation into the claim that was put up there by some rogue person on Twitter that it was AI. It has been completely disproven.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
That picture, which was published on the Telegraph, is a genuine, legitimate picture.
What is your source?
Are you seriously arguing that babies weren't killed?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, what are you saying?
I'm saying, give me a source.
Yeah.
You know full well you've been fired from the Daily Mirror for fake images. So you know full well about the
I didn't accept they were faked.
Exactly. The UK government did.
Yeah, they did.
Because
the UK government, just to be clear, had waged, in my view, an illegal war in Iraq.
So you're allowed to go against the government, and I'm not allowed to go against the Israeli government?
Of course you're allowed to.
So tell me now, what's the source?
You seem to be making a lot of presumptions about me, Mohammed.
Yes, because you had softball questions for your ambassador.
No, there weren't. I put all the questions to the ambassador. I was editor of the Daily Mirror when we opposed the Iraq war on the grounds that I believed it was an illegal war.
So already off the shoot, you see here Piers Morgan making an erroneous claim. Okay. So when he says something like, well, it's been completely proven. And Mohammed Hijab asked him he said, what's your source? SubhanAllah. This is something that Allah teaches us in the Quran. قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Bring your proof if what you're saying is truthful.
وَإِنْ جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا.
فَتَثَبَّتُوا. Right? So establish it. Bring your news and evidence. Right? So we've seen the international community follow one narrative. And that narrative is true is because they said it. That's it. Right? So, just a couple of days ago, a whole hospital of Palestinians were killed. 500 people. But it wasn't the Israeli rockets because Israel said it wasn't. It was Hamas.
Can you believe it?
No. But when it comes to Gazans always claiming, the Palestinians claiming, Muslims claiming, hey, this is what's happening, no, they have to bring evidence.
They actually took their statement back. They said it was an accident. Wow. The Israelis, they said it was an accidental bombing. So what
Which
do you
one
do,
is it?
right? What do you do
Yeah.
when you always have these constant turns of, okay, yes, it was us, no, it wasn't us, and this is how they play in the politics.
They
right?
play games like this.
This is, and they cannot even bring their evidences, right? But then when the evidence is against them, they try to remove it, or they try to make try to make explanations for why they did what they did.
The really sad and also disgusting part is that they always get away with it. There hasn't been a single time where these bodies of the UN, I think UN is pretty like useless, bro. It's a useless body of, and that's what Mohammed Hijab mentions. It's
toothless.
a toothless entity, right? Because they have issued so many violations. They mention how much Israel has violated so much, what do you call it?
Human rights.
Human rights violations, but also the resolutions, the United Nations resolutions. Israel has violated so much more than all of the European countries combined, yet never is held accountable, not once. Just some statement is made that no one ever sees, and that's it.
And not only that, these countries that are a part of the UN, they are the ones who are backing Israel up.
Yep.
So what do you do?
Yep.
As a if you were there in this position of the Palestinians, what do you do when the people that you're looking for help, this international entity that is supposed to be helping in cases like this, they're actually backing your oppressors, the people who are bombing you. What do you do?
SubhanAllah. And there goes the justice, right? This next clip, let's watch Mohammed Hijab. Also, again, he presses him again. He did a great job in this interview. May Allah bless him and reward him for that.
And this is something that we should do. Right? When we are given these type of platforms, we need to show that the Muslims, we have a stance. We're not just going to sit there.
You need to be firm. You need to be, assertive. This whole idea of letting back, because then any other way, it would have been Piers Morgan speaking and him dominating the whole conversation and pretty much having Mohammed Hijab saying whatever he wanted him to say, right? But we need to be this way because right now we're in a very tough situation. So you need to be someone who's firm, steadfast, and assertive. Okay.
Condemn.
Yes or no?
I'm going to answer your question honestly and truthfully.
Sure.
And because I've tweeted about this, right?
Oh, okay.
I think that what happened on October the 7th was one of the worst atrocities I have ever had to read about or watch on
video. It happens every day in Palestine. No. So why do you care about that?
It actually doesn't. It doesn't.
It does actually.
No. The Israeli forces.
I've got the stats for that.
Israeli forces do not go.
Pass-led.
Wait a minute, Mohammed.
Edge. Go and check it out.
Mohammed.
He just said that it doesn't happen every day for the Palestinians. And we've been seeing that for the past 75 years. We've been seeing news of the Palestinians getting shot and articles of these Israeli soldiers. They're just shooting at innocent children, innocent civilians. There are videos of them beating them as they're just in their worship, they're praying, they're beating them. And you're saying that they have not?
And then this is a perfect example of one person's oppression matters than the other, right? Mohammed Hijab made a very important point, which he showed that the what's happened in Israel, that Hamas did. First of all, we don't advocate the killing of women, children, or innocent civilians. We don't advocate for that. Even if a Muslim does it, even if we do it, we don't advocate for it, and we condemn any innocent lives that are killed. Right, 100%. But can they say that? They can't say the same, right? And we're about to see Piers Morgan very soon. But if you look at all the decades that have passed, look at the killing and the amounts of deaths from both sides due to this conflict, and you'll see it's drastically one-sided, right? Which is the Palestinians heavily outnumber the death. So if it's like, hey, it doesn't happen in Palestine. Okay, one day was bad, but how about 70 years? How about 60 years? How about 50 years? How about home massacres, the Nakba? How about that, right? Sheikh Jarrah, how about that? So these are things that are documented. But again, all they're showing and demonstrating is that one side's oppression and pain matters than the other.
And that's mainly because one side has power.
Yep.
This is what happens. Look at Israel. They have nuclear. In 70 years,
Yeah.
they already have a nuclear bomb in their
grade A military weapons and yep.
ties with everybody.
SubhanAllah. Let's see. Muhammad Hijab makes a powerful point right now, right? Piers Morgan refuses to condemn the killings and the deaths that were on the side of the Palestinians.
Israeli
protective edge.
Israeli forces don't go into Gaza on one day and grab grandmothers and kill babies in their beds.
Okay.
And
no, hold on.
Rape and abuse women.
So, rape, is there any evidence for that?
It's been multiple reports in multiple mainstream media publications.
The mainstream media, if you're quoting mainstream media publications as evidence, who's sending them those images?
It's the
Israelis. It's literally, look, there's not a single news channel, news, cast studio in America right now that is supporting or even acknowledging the grievances of the Palestinians. So they're talking about rape. Where's the evidence? Oh, well, they reported it. Of course they reported it. Of course they reported it. But where's the evidence, though? Where's the evidence? This is what we're asking for. And this is what Muhammad Hijab makes a great point. And Piers Morgan continues to use as a reference and evidence the same entity that fired him and the same group of people, right, and the hegemony that he already distrusts only to prove his point. SubhanAllah. Well, this is another level, next level crookedness.
You can see now that they're all in cahoots, as they say. Right? They're all on the same page, right? They all have the same purpose.
There you go.
Right? These mainstream medias, this their way of propagating their ideas. Right? When everybody comes together to push one agenda, that is the only thing that they want the American people to hear. Right? Israel is in danger. Palestinians, they're the terrorists.
SubhanAllah.
Allahumma musta'an.
So let's see this conversation.
You're just sit here and deny everything.
No,
right?
no, I'm not denying anything.
You are.
No, I accept that some civilians have been killed. I do accept this, and I already said.
You don't believe any of the reports that women were raped?
No, I didn't say that. I said that it's still to be
do you
verified.
think they were raped?
No, I don't know. It's like the Russell Brand thing. You said we don't know any evidence. So why do you apply two different standards?
Okay, so
when it's Israel, we know they're raped. When it's Russell Brand, you don't know because you're friend.
No, it's been reported by legitimate news sources.
When it's Israel, you know they're raped. But when it's Russell Brand, you don't know.
Them.
When it's Russell Brand, you don't know if they're raped.
There's no comparison between Russell Brand and what's happened.
It's the same thing. It's a rape allegation. Why are you stuttering?
I'm not stuttering.
You are stuttering. You don't have anything to say.
Like, I know we're laughing, but this is horrendous, bro. Along Mubarak, Brother Muhammad Hijab really showed the true face. He unveiled these people. Look at him. He said it's the same thing. Look how he was shocked. Look at that. Look at his face. SubhanAllah, look at this.
And the contradiction, right? It's amazing. Like on one side, you know for sure, but then the other side is like, well, we don't know. We have to do more research.
It is absolutely tanaqud. It's just contradiction after contradiction, and also double standards.
Force for good. Do you believe that?
Well, I think that anybody who kills children and those elements of Hamas who are killing children...
Right, so we can agree. So we agree. So my point is, if Israel's purpose is to rid the world of Hamas after the atrocity of October the 7th, how do they do that, given that Hamas embeds itself in civilian areas in the way that it does? Everyone knows that in Gaza.
Okay.
How do they do that in this surgically...
In civilian areas? I'm sorry. When you restrict a group of people, over 2 million people, to an area which is 25 miles long, then where do you expect this Hamas group to go in the first place? Like, being for them and against them is besides the point right now. Just everyone, just use your logic. He's saying that, they're in there and they're not getting out. I'm sorry, but you've literally restricted and bordered you know, and constricted the entire Palestinian population on the Gaza Strip to the Gaza Strip, which is 25 miles long. Where else do you expect them to go? You know, are they going to go and have their operations in the sea? Because that's the only thing behind them. You can't let them go to Egypt, right? They're not going up north. That's Tel Aviv. You won't allow that. Where are they going to go? Like, like if you really think about what they're saying, it makes no sense.
And this is another one of their excuses that they use to justify their killings.
Yes, and that's where he's going with this.
Right?
That's where he's going. Pierce.
Surgically clean way that you seem to think they should be doing.
Okay, can I say...
How do you not kill civilians?
Beautiful. Can I
don't like any civilian death.
Do you mind if I answer the question?
don't endorse any civilian death.
Well, no.
Do I
don't condemn it, though.
Hang on.
Yeah.
No, and here's why. Because I support Israel's right to defend itself.
Beautiful. Don't condemn it, though.
Hang on.
Yeah.
No, and here's why. Because I support Israel's right to defend itself.
Beautiful.
Now,
Look at that. Listen, Mohammed Hijab just brought a really, really powerful point. He said, do you condemn the civilian deaths? Pierce Morgan said no. And what's his reason? Listen to this guy. He said no. He refused to. This is, guys, he's telling you he does not even feel sorry. There's no condemnation. You saw how he started off in the beginning. Oh, yeah, actually, you don't know me. I've done all this. You know, I've shed a lot of light for the Palestinian plight. I did this and I did that. Then he's asked, do you condemn the civilian? No. And then here's why. You can't even say that's a slip of a tongue. Because when it's followed by, and here's why, you know exactly what you're saying. So let's see what he says.
On?
Yeah.
No, and here's why. Because I support Israel's right to defend itself.
Beautiful.
Now,
can I say something?
No, one more point. Then you can reply.
Sure.
But the question then becomes, what is proportionate?
Okay.
What is a proportionate response?
Okay.
I don't have the answer.
Excellent.
Because I don't know what a proportionate response to 1,300 murders is. When 260 young people at a music festival, most of them peace-loving people enjoying themselves at a festival, when they get slaughed by people paragliding in with machine guns, I don't know what the proportionate response is.
Let me respond to
So can you tell me?
So again, look how he paints. This has always been. This is why people don't trust mainstream media anymore. Look how he like. It's not about whether they are peace-loving or not peace-loving, but look how he makes it seem always that one group of civilians are so heavenly, they're angels. The other group of civilians, well, they're casualty. They had to go. How else? What do you expect, right? You could say the exact same thing for, if you were to make the argument, well, where are the rockets going to go? Where are they going to attack when is the Israeli army's in Israel? Do you see how ridiculous this sounds, right? So, of course, so if you said, of course, the civilians have to die. But no. They're at a rave or whatever it is. They're having a party, a concert. They're peace-loving people. But when it's Palestinians, well, they're casualty.
Unfortunate. This is what they're feeding the people, right?
Yeah.
This is what mainstream media always do. Yeah. They always paint a picture on one group in order to push their values and ideals.
Yep.
Right. So may Allah have mercy on the people of on our Muslims in Palestine, because they don't have any supporters when it comes to the media.
And this is why. The mainstream media is heavily one-sided, right? But let's listen to Mohammed Hijab's response.
Spoken for about 2 minutes. You didn't do that with the ambassador, by the way. I'm just showing you're saying fair, but you're not being fair.
I've said
okay. So let me paint a picture.
I will be fair.
Sure.
I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say.
Right, excellent. You're from Irish descent. We know that there was an IRA in Belfast and so on. Okay, so let me ask you a question now. If there was IRA in Belfast and they were occupying council properties and so on, and then we have a plane of RAF going to destroy that council property, destroy all of Belfast, flatten it, as one representative said, Gottlieb. The IDF said that. One of the IDF members said that we will flatten it completely. That's what we want to do. We don't care about accuracy, he said. We care about damage. That's what he said. You didn't question her about that. But anyway, if the RAF were to then go into Belfast and flatten, as the IDF and these guys want to do, if they want to flatten Belfast with all the white people, I'm going to use the term white, all the white people, council estates living in there, with the excuse that we're doing it because it's proportionate defense to the terrorists. What would you say about that?
Here's what I would say to you.
Is that acceptable or unacceptable?
Here's what I would say to you.
Yeah.
The IRA committed a series of atrocities over numerous decades. They targeted, in their eyes, military and political targets. They usually gave some form of warning, not always.
Okay.
They
were terrorists.
No, they were terrorists.
Sure.
They never, ever went out one day and committed the barbaric slaughter of 1,300...
Irrelevant.
No.
If they did.
I'm sorry. It's not irrelevant.
If they did.
No, Mohammed.
If they did.
Here's why it's not irrelevant.
Okay.
They never did.
But if they did, would you accept the RAF to flatten Belfast?
There were outrages committed by
the
loyalist parliamentaries too.
My question is,
here's my point.
If they did, would you think it's acceptable?
They never came close to committing an outrage on that scale.
If they did, is it acceptable
they
to
never
flatten
went
Belfast?
in and kidnapped grandmothers or killed babies in cribs.
Did, is it acceptable or not?
They believe they were fighting for better or worse, and I believe for worse, and that's why I'm glad peace was found. They believe they were fighting political and military targets.
I'm trying to bring it closer to home to you.
You're trying to compare apples and oranges.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
It's you that's doing that.
The only comparison that I would say that we saw from October the 7th and what Hamas did is with ISIS.
Excuse me.
It's the only comparison.
Wow.
No.
This is amazing. That's the only guys like. I don't know. I just feel like look how hard it is to call terrorism when it's not done by Muslims, right? The governments who create this, like, I don't like to play the race card, but I'm happy that Mohammed Hijab brought it up because in this case you do see that it has a place. So when the Europeans have a war amongst each other, we would thrust ourselves, the United States thrusts itself into that war to go fight or to help Ukraine fight an entire different European country. And we call that billions of dollars. We call that patriotism. One of the Ukrainians, he goes on a bridge, blows himself up, because it was a patriotic thing to do. He needed to do that to destroy them. So he's called a patriot. Once a Muslim does it, he's a terrorist. He's a terrorist. There's no ins or outs in this situation. That's what you are. Why? Because the only thing that, the only group of people on the face of the earth that can have this label of terrorists are the Muslims. Even look how hesitant Piers Morgan is to actually answering the concerns and questions of Mohammed Hijab. When he's telling them if they did do this and this, he doesn't want to answer. You know why? Because he knows he would have to admit the truth. That this whole story and this narrative, this discourse is very one-sided. And it's been tipping one way for decades, right? You want to add anything else?
The only thing I'd add is that, what can we expect, right? What can we expect from the kuffar? Because as Allah says in the Quran, that they are awliya ba'duhum li ba'd. They are protectors and allies, one of them to another, right? Mm-hmm. So for us as Muslims to go and look at these people as allies or someone we can rely upon, it's something very strange and something that we shouldn't be, expecting and hoping for, right? And you can see Mohammed Hijab's example with the IFD or IDF, right?
No, not the IDF. He's the IRA.
The IRA, right? Yeah. He even gives the comparison, like, what if it was this situation, and then what they would do? They'll go and fling themselves in there.
He's going squiggling out of this one.
So this is what they do.
Yeah. All right. This next clip we're gonna watch is a church. The oldest Christian church in Gaza that was destroyed by the Israeli missiles. Now, we're not talking about Muslims here. These are Eastern Orthodox. They were the Greek Orthodox church, and they said that they had only 1,000 people who were going to this church, and they have much less now due to all the killings, right? But this church was established in the year 425, and it's been there since that long. That's a long time. This is a historic church. Okay. So you can see how this plight is. So you can see how this plight is not only affecting the Muslims there, but also the Christians, the historic Christian communities, right, that are there. And the sad part also is that many evangelical Christians are supporting Israel.
Allah musta'an.
Not only that, they're supporting Israel despite there's been even Christians that have visited and they made pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and we'll show some clips of how Israelis and the Jews are hostile towards them. They say, "Get out of here! We don't want you here." And then we still have the heavy Christian support for Israel.
They don't even want them.
They don't even want them.
They don't even want their support. And they're still saying, please let us.
Look at that. You know what I'm saying? This, something has to give. SubhanAllah. Last but not least, we want to deal with the story of, there's a very tragic story in Chicago that was a mother and her son in an apartment were attacked by a man. I think it was a landlord. He had been watching a lot of conservative and mainstream news channels and outlets.
Not only conservative,
yeah,
because majority of the mainstream, like CNN,
that's true. Those two,
they all been pushing the same agenda. All pushing the
so he said he was watching those, and he was infuriated by what was happening in Palestine on behalf of the Israelis. So he knocked on this woman's door, and she opened it a little bit, and he broke into it. He tried to strangle her. She got away. She locked herself in the bathroom, and this man, I guess, went into one of the bedrooms or something like that. But he eventually got a hold of the son, the 4-year-old son. I think he's 4-year-old. How is that? It's like 6 years old, I think, 5 or 6 years old. And he stabbed him 26 times, okay? 26 times he stabbed him. Can you imagine that? Then he went and stabbed the mother. And she ended up surviving, but the boy died. And he kept saying while he was stabbing, he says, all the Muslims have to die. The Muslims must die. Imagine that. This is like, do you see days after the President of the United States made a false claim that he had seen with his own eyes babies being beheaded by his quote-unquote terrorists. He said babies were beheaded by terrorists. That's what he said. Then his own administration backtracked and said the president actually had not seen any pictures, any videos, anything, right? So the president is making claims. People are watching. Obviously, this is a tense situation. People are emotional, right? So when they hear something like that, they're attacking the Muslims, right? We're not saying every single person is doing it, but obviously there are those that are moved by their emotions and they would carry out such a heinous crime.
Especially if the president of the United States,
president.
It's just like back in COVID, when the president was, saying that about Asians and
about
COVID,
China,
and then now all these Chinese and Asian Americans, they're getting beat because of the statements that you do.
There you go.
Right? The leaders of these countries, they need to understand that their statements do hold power with the citizens that they are, ruling over, right? The leaders of, right? So when you say things like those statements, like, "Oh, I seen this,"
very irresponsible, especially when you don't even have evidence for it. And he led us to believe he had evidence, right? So you cannot even, you're blaming Trump, but then you're saying you're doing the exact same things he was doing. You're lying. This is, his administration didn't call it that, of course, because they have to protect his image, but it's a lie. It's a lie to say something like that, right? And then, all these buildings that are being destroyed and killed, most of those that are killed on the Palestinian side are children. And
you have to, I do want to bring this so we can all think, what is the purpose of them doing these and saying these type of things?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why do they have to go to this extreme in order to paint this picture like Muslims are so, evil and destructive, and everyone else is is like angels and free from any type of
blame or responsibility.
Yes. So why do they have to do this?
Right. When you don't hold everybody equally accountable, this will end up in causing a lot of distrust, mistrust, oppression, wrongdoing.
That's exactly what we see.
And subhanAllah, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. Right? These are the people that are saying they're the peacemakers of the world.
وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ
SubhanAllah.
قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ
We are the
مُصْلِحُونَ.
ones that are, he says, the verse says, it starts off by saying, if it's said to them, hey, why don't you guys stop the corruption and be peacemakers? They say, we are the peacemakers. We are the peacemakers, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confirms that they themselves are truly the ones that are spreading corruption.
And this is exactly قَدْ صَدَقَ اللَّهُ. Allah has spoken the truth, because exactly what we see. America is saying we're trying to spread peace, we're trying to have this ceasefire, humanitarian aid, but at the same time they're supporting the other side.
Yeah,
they're supporting the other side.
They clearly all do have a dog in the race. Piers Morgan says he doesn't have a dog in the race. He has a dog in the race, right? America says, so when America comes in and they're like, we're trying to find humanitarian aid, dude, you're giving all the guns and the weapons and all the support. In fact, Biden said he was going to send a unprecedented aid package to Israel. All we're saying is, how about the Palestinians? They're not human beings. So one of the prime ministers, not the prime ministers, but he's like a minister of war or something. He said that these are animals. He referred to them as animals. There was no censor of any government, Western government against them. He said they're animals. You're right. Biden didn't say anything. Nobody said anything for it. So we see this as a one-sided support. At the end, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for assistance and to bring about justice, inshallah, and to inspire us all with the reality. And you want to add anything else?
I do want to add that we as Muslims, we need to be patient in this time, right?
Yeah.
We cannot be, going around, doing bid'ah or any other thing that goes against Islam because of what we see. We need to be patient. We need to be steadfast. And this is the most important time for us to get closer to Allah Azza wa
Yeah.
Jal. With
Yeah.
trials and tribulations, Allah raises the people
So,
and grants them a higher level in the Jannah.
yeah, and then with the condition of that is to uphold the tenets of Islam, and so we should all be doing that, and that's the best way to bring about change and revival of this ummah. Always is that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala He says, "Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim." So He says that Allah will not bring about a change in the people until they change what's in themselves. So this is what we have to change. The only support and assistance that we have at this moment is Allah, from Allah Azza wa Jal. And so let us rely on Him, and let us seek assistance from Him, and ask Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to relieve the stress and burden from the Palestinians, our brothers, Muslims, and all of the weak and the suffering people of the world. And until next time, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.